on the 18th day of the month of October 2023. I think it's going to be a historic one, and I'm going to talk about that and why that is the case in just a short while, especially when you get to see the composition of our panelists tonight on the summit. We are in session, and in case it's your first time joining us, welcome on board. This is where we scale the heights to bring you all the great conversations that matter to you and I. Of course, we get to bring the panelists right here from different sectors, across different spaces in terms of the economy of Rwanda, but of course also scaling outside to a regional perspective. If you're hearing my name for the first time, this is the voice of Eugene Anagwe. Welcome to the summit. And of course, it's a show that is very interactive. All you need to do is join us across our social media platforms. Our X platform is live as we speak, and you can just dash there and be able to get in touch with us. You've already seen what we'll be talking about tonight on the program. And interestingly, I had even seen the government spokesperson, Yolande Makolo. She's actually mentioned something, and she said, game changer. I had a smartphone. She's quoting someone who's actually very appealed by the 4G. And the quote says, I had a smartphone, but it didn't have 4G. I heard that 4G is incredibly fast for browsing. Since I provide e-banking services, I needed fast internet, and this phone will be incredibly useful. The affordable price makes it even more appealing. We'll delve deeper into why there's that level of excitement out there. Sylvie Nsanga, a good friend of the summit, say that great panelists and discussion to not miss. I hope you're tuned in right about now. And like I said, this gentleman is there, just proof or testament that we are actually indeed live. Just jump onto the chat section and we'll be able to read your thoughts live and direct. In the meantime, let me bring my panelists who are right here, very comfortable, on set, ready for the summit tonight. I have none other than Emmanuel James, who's the Chief Executive Officer, and he is representing Airtel Rwanda right here on the program. Emmanuel, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you on the program. Also joining us right here is none other than Ken Mugaba, who's actually the Chief Technical Officer, MTN Rwanda. Ken, thank you for making time.
Thank you very much.
I said historic because look, here we are seated together, right? And in the eyes of others, this should be competition. There should actually be a barrier there.
It's okay. I think even can work for Airtel in the
Wonderful. We'll be listening to how partnerships or meaningful partnerships can come up in the name of trying to actually improve connectivity and closing the connectivity and usage gap. And of course, also joining us in Studio B is the Director General Digital Transformation at the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, Gordon Kalema. Thank you so much, Gordon, for making time on the program tonight. Also with us is none other than Gahungu Charles with the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority, and he is the General Manager, ICT Regulation. Thank you so much also for making time on the program. Also with us is a youthful voice, is none other than Faith Muyoyo. She's the Country Manager, Computech Limited. It's an all-inclusive, at least we've tried to make it inclusive, conversation tonight on the very important pertinent matter of closing connectivity and usage gap. And of course, the question is, what will be needed? I want you to just jump on our social platforms and start talking to us from where you are. It is said that the mobile industry has seen remarkable growth across the sub-Saharan Africa. Their unique mobile subscription in this region has reached almost 490 million. Are you feeling that, or these are just statistics? We'll be talking more a bit about that. Let's get this conversation rolling, and I want to start with you, but in order of no priority, so that Ken doesn't feel that why did you have to start with Airtel? I want to start with you, Emmanuel, because we've been talking about the issue of the growth in terms of these numbers. We are seeing a lot of unique subscribers across this region, 490 million within the sub-Saharan region. But when we talk about Rwanda, the country where you actually represent Airtel in, let's talk a bit about some of the unique trends that you're seeing in terms of accessibility, connectivity, and usage before we even get deeper into the conversation.
Yeah, I think there were we have already a good penetration in Rwanda, actually. There's a lot of phone. Mm-hmm. The problem is that it's not the right phone. Mm-hmm. We have too much 2G phone in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. I think the availability of smartphone, it has been said, is 57%, even we're lagging behind.
Yeah.
I think this is due to the fact that we did not have a high competition in the 4G. And I would like here to thank the authorities because July 22, they have released the competition.
Yeah.
And I think the competition is the key for penetration. And again, we need more competition. I have my partner and competitor here.
Yeah.
We have to fight to offer the best service.
Yeah.
So this is the key first.
Yeah.
Number two is why this number of smartphone, of feature phone, is because of the cost. So the sorry, my English is not that good.
We're
so,
getting you.
Yes,
Yes.
that the affordability of the phone is not enough.
Yeah.
Now, typically a 4G phone has a cost of 60,000 francs, while a smart feature phone will be less than 10,000 francs.
Yeah.
So our challenge is really to bring the cost of a 4G phone to the cost of the 2G phone. This is now working with the government. So the affordability is really the first key.
Yeah.
Of course, number two will be the quality. Quality, because now 2G just you need to call, and call has the quality. But now when you talk about internet, the quality, the speed, the latency, the stability of the service. There is nothing more bad than you start streaming and then it start to buffer. So we have to work very much on the stability, and this is what is bringing the 4G. So again, by bringing competition in 4G, it will help.
Yeah.
And of course, the availability of the service. We are discussing a lot with our shall I say, partner of the regulator about the coverage. We need, of course, to cover any centimeter square of Rwanda. Everybody has the right to have the service.
Yeah.
It's not only a privilege that should be in the city.
Yeah.
And we are working very hard to cover Rwanda. But when I say availability, it's not only coverage, it's also availability of the sales point. You should find airtime, you should find phone, you should find SIM card everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is where we are working also closely with Rwanda. So, and all this catalyzed by competition. We need competition, and I will play my role to bring the competition in Rwanda.
Right, interesting, Emmanuel. And Ken, when you hear what Emmanuel says, we need competition. Hey, you're not competition enough. Why are you making it too easy for them? But also on a very serious note, what are the trends that you're seeing? What is it that you would be able to say that if there's a listener or viewer watching us tonight and says, Anangwe, those are just big numbers you're just quoting. We're not feeling, so much of a difference. Yes, the numbers have gone up in terms of penetration, but the usage is not as it should get. Talk to me about the importance of competition and, of course, that particular thought process.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, the importance of competition is that it brings relevant products. We tend to hear more about what customers need and tend to act fast and in an agile way.
Yeah.
So when there's competition, as maybe to echo Emmanuel, you start seeing things moving fast. And this is all our maybe regulator wants to see, and our end users as well wants to see.
Yeah.
And maybe to also touch on the usage, as he said, yes, smartphone penetration is still low in Rwanda, but we have a couple of initiatives that started even back in 2019, before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we had Connect Rwanda initiative that managed to reach around 27,000 customers, and this was in collaboration with all parties, government and private institutions. And we also launched last year in November the Mache. It's a device financing model, which has already reached more than 120 people. And today our competitor has also launched some good products, which we should be complementing each other to achieve the end goal of the device and hence induce now the usage. Now, on the usage, maybe I'll touch a little bit on the service offerings. We need to also, and again, it also tallies around competition. We need to have relevant service offerings like content that will also induce usage, because we do believe that we also know that digital literacy also is still a little bit lagging behind. So having the digital literacy and the right content, simple and reliable to our end users, will also, this is something that will also induce the usage.
Right. I'll come back to talk a bit more about the usage aspect, but I want to bring in the regulator here, or the representative from the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority, Charles. Charles, you've been listening to the two players in the telco space here in Rwanda, and you've heard what they've said. Of course, there's been an aspect of the issue of stability, the issue of the quality of the phones, and of course, Ken just also mentions the issue of relevant content. And I want to hear your role as the regulator in pushing for these, for the sake of the numbers that actually have these handsets in their hands. What is exactly RURA's role in ensuring that this stability is actually there? These phones are actually available and at good quality. And of course, the content that is being provided in them is actually of good quality. At what point does someone watching us tonight feel that someone has their back on those issues?
Thank you, Eugene. The role of the regulator in all these aspects, we have different, if I can say, missions, which we really have to accomplish. First of all, before I go to the exact role of the regulator, I just want to remind specifically the vision of the country when it comes to the vision of 2050. We are targeting to have all online services. That means like the whole public and government services to be online by 2035. So to achieve that, it means every citizen should be able to access those services online. Again, this means that every citizen should be able at least to use internet, and how that can come. It is very important that we have to work all together. It is not just a simple task that someone is going to handle. Everyone has its role. There is a role of the operators. There is also a role of regulators, as well as policymakers and even citizens. So when it comes to the regulator, we are basically playing a role which is in between the consumers as well as the service provider. We have to enable the environment to make sure that it is really conducive, a regulatory environment which can allow all those players, being service providers as well as the service users, so that they can feel really comfortable to be able to use those services. In this case, we are going through different changes in terms of regulations, try to adapt those regulations with the different changes, the innovation and technology in place. That's why I think you came to know that last year there was a new broadband policy, which currently we are implementing it. And that's why Airtel as well as MTN, who are just close to you, were able to launch 4G. So it means that as the regulator, we have to make sure that the regulatory environment is really very conducive to attract the competition.
Before I go to Gordon, I want to hear from you in terms of the competition aspect. Both players have actually said competition will play a very major role in spurring the efforts of closing the connectivity and usage gap. And when we talk about competition, currently we have the two players in terms of the main players that we see across Rwanda. Why not 2 more, 3 more, 5 more? What would it take? What are the steps? Or we are okay with the current players that we have here in the room? I see Emmanuel is looking at Ken and says, haha, kawaii.
Thanks, Eugene. I think before possibly I come back to how many operators we need here, it could be 4, 5, 6, 10 plus. I just wanted to step back a little bit and try to address one earlier question, and I want just to make sure that I don't repeat what everyone else has said.
Yeah.
I wanted to shed light on 2 main points. One is the consistency that needs to happen in an ecosystem for us to be able to realize what I would call a sustainable progress. If you step back in 2010, I'll give you an example. For instance, in 2011, we had less than 10% of internet subscribers. Today, we talk of over 65%. The other example, when it comes to just phones, phone subscribers or SIM card subscribers, so to say, again, in 2010, we had less than 33%. Today, we are counting almost 92%. On content, I will just again give an example. For instance, on mobile money or Airtel money, just to balance, we had about 630,000 subscribers. People were transacting. Today, the entire GDP is transacted digitally by over 120%. That's all less than 10 years. So consistency is very key, and I think for us to be able to realize that, we need right policies in place. Charles mentioned the latest broadband policy that came into place, and we were able to change around the operational model, the business structure, where we allowed all the operators to go into wholesale.
Yeah.
And today, in less than 2 months, we are seeing a breakthrough. So that's again consistency. And what is key, again, to align it to your question, what is key possibly won't be how many operators you need, but how many lives you're going to impact with those that are existing.
Yeah.
The other point I wanted to come to, which is the last one, is around digital literacy. I think it should be Ken who mentioned it. You can have everything. You can have this cocktail of everything in place. Infrastructure, focus on devices, you push 4G everywhere. But at the end of the day, if you're not intentional to empower your people, the citizens, to be able to consume these digital services, your work is going to be futile.
Yeah.
So one thing we've done as a country, as a government, is to put in place one program we call Digital Ambassadors Program. This is an army of youth, people who've been contracted with a contract, commissioned to bid, and they're deployed into their residences to train people in digital literacy specifically. Last year we had 100. Today we've scaled. We have 1,000, which was 1,500, and it's picking more. So we are seeing results. So as we invest a lot, as we create more content, also empowering people to consume this content is very valuable as well.
Right. Gordon, I want you to just pause right there for a moment, and I'll come back to you, and I want you to, in the process, to think about this question that I'll come to ask. You've talked about the digital ambassadors, and you've talked about their numbers in around 1,000 and so. But of course, we've seen the telcos trying to actually push more handsets in the hands of people. For example, the Airtel plan is pushing to have around 1.2 million gadgets in the hands of Rwandans who did not have those gadgets. And so I'm wondering, the 1,000 plus digital ambassadors, how will they be able to train all these huge numbers? But I want you to marinate that as I ask Faith to come in here, because Faith, from where you sit, and even in your representation on this particular program, you come in even as a young person and also a lady within this particular digital space. I want to read your thoughts on the gaps that you continue to see in terms of the accessibility for young women and, of course, those within the rural areas. When you're doing what you do within the space that you're in, what is the missing link? What will be needed to be able to close those gaps that we continue to see from a gender perspective?
Well, thank you very much, Eugene. Like you rightly said, There are a few gaps which I've observed when interacting with the different stakeholders who are essentially in this meeting, or rather in this call. One of them is we have very few entrepreneurs willing to actually work closely with the telcos as well as with the policy regulators to actually come up with the content. And we are lacking that from a youth standpoint as well. So what would actually rally the youth would be to actually generate this content and actually float it up to the telcos, for instance. So also from a manufacturing standpoint, what would be my thinking would be if Rwanda were to set up a manufacturing plant for the phones apart from Horizon, then now content would actually be packaged onto these phones by the entrepreneurs, obviously. They'll generate the content, then package it onto the phones. Then the phones are shipped out to the users, the 1.2 million subscribers who are actually getting the mobile 4G phones. Once they get these phones, you turn on the mobile device, you already have like an array of services that you can actually leverage on from different sectors in the economy. So that will also drive up different initiatives, whether it's the digital literacy, whether it's the upskilling and the likes of that. So those are some of the things which I'm looking at in terms of how youth and entrepreneurs can actually come in to curb this digital divide here.
Very interesting, and I want to bring that here to Emmanuel. There's the 1.2 million gadgets, and Faith brings in a very important aspect, very interesting one, in terms of why don't we manufacture them here and be able to have homegrown content locally? Is that easier said than done?
Well, I met the CEO of Marathon, and he has his challenge, and it will be a great story that the next batch could be manufactured in Rwanda for sure. And with this volume, maybe this is a capability, it's something we have to discuss. I would like to come back to what was said about the educational part.
Yes.
It needs, we have distribute some phone in Kayanza, and with Mr. Gordon, with Mr. Charles, we have seen there's a big gap also on education. To take a feature phone, which is a basic phone, the old phone, you dial and you phone.
Yeah.
To jump to the 4G, it's a big gap.
Yeah.
People, they are not used to, especially the old one, but the old, it's not only the young people who should use, no, also the old.
Yeah.
So suddenly we give them the smartphone. We are asking them for now their email, because you need your email to download the app and to access to the digital world with an OTP. They don't know what is an OTP. It's a so we have to explain them by giving a phone. For the first time, people have an email. They did not have email even. And then with this email, they can make the journey to download app. And which app to download? They are lost. YouTube, Netflix. I will make publicity for Netflix because he's our founder. Really, we thank Mr. Reed Hastings so much for this. But it can be RTL TV, it can be Canal Plus, it can be Smart TV. All this needs to be educated. And we discover that the journey is taking a lot of time. It's not to sell a phone in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a journey which can take even 30 minutes to explain to the people how they can use this phone, how they can download the application, and what are the services they can have. And this is where we have a lot of work to be done with the authorities and with all these ambassadors. And we are going to meet, I think, next week again with RISA and RURA to organize this roadshow, not only to distribute the phone, but to explain how it works and what would be the benefit. And there is a big job to be done in that respect.
I hear you, Ken. I mean, he says it's more than just giving the phones and saying we have deep penetration of the phones, but it goes beyond that. It has to also be, are they being used to full capacity? So what is the strategy from where you sit? What should be done?
So actually, MTN recognize this challenge, and I would like also to maybe inform some of you, maybe don't know, that today MTN signed a letter of intent with GSMA Africa to deliver digital literacy. So it's coming in to complement what the government has already started with the brand ambassadors. But again, this will drive or accelerate the digital transformation, because we'll need to ensure that the people who are putting handsets in the hands knows how to operate and how to also consume the content that we give. And in addition to the content, we also have the public services that are now almost digitalized. So we'll also have, actually it's a campaign. It's a campaign that has been called We Care. So we care about the digital transformation, and we want to participate fully in driving this digital literacy.
I want to talk about the elephant in the room, and for us to just break the ice on this table here. You say the campaign is going to be called We Care, of the sort, and Emmanuel, you also said you planning to see if you could even put up a road show to be able to also push the digital literacy. What would it take for the two telcos to join forces for a common goal of improving or increasing digital literacy? Is this something we'll see in our lifetime? Is this something you plan to do? Can you do it? Will you do it?
You see, of course, we are joining forces sometimes. We share infrastructure, for example. All the sites, there are more than 1,000 sites all over the country, which are shared between MTN and Airtel. We use the same site. We share sometimes the infrastructure, the fiber, for example. As far as service is concerned, I'm not sure. I think still you need option, you need different view, because then you will again unify the views to deliver the service. There are different ways to bring the service, and I don't think it will be appreciated by the consumer not to have choice and to have only one view. And I think we should bring our methodology, and they should bring another one. And this is also this multi-choice which will make vibrant the ecosystem. There is not a single way to address this problem. It's a very complex problem, and we will have our way, they will have their way, and we let people choose, and this is for the benefit. We still to have I mean, when you go in a supermarket, do you want to see a supermarket with only one yogurt? You want to have a choice. So this is also this choice we have to give. So I think we have to also to leave the freedom to address this. And of course, as an addition of this, you will have you will address the problem fully and in different manner.
Fair enough. Charles, I know you've listened to this, but I want to hear from where you sit in terms of regulation, when it comes to a fair playing ground and regulation aimed at ensuring that the beneficiary is the common citizen. In this case, the aspect of digital literacy. Both players are saying it's a very complex issue. How is the regulator working around this issue from a perspective of putting rules on the ground that if you're doing XYZ as part of your strategy, you also need to do XYZ to ensure that there is a proper, deliberate campaign for, knowledge impacting on the users on that end? What would you want to tell us on that front, Charles?
Yes. As you said, the regulator, we are working closely with different partners, operators, as well as even the ministry. And we make sure that this education as well as awareness is really being done at all levels. For instance, if there is message or package or content to be delivered, let's say from the Ministry of Education or any other education way, they can go through operators, and whenever they want to do any kind of broadcasting messages, there are some messages which we give the guidelines how they should be done. So in this case, specifically when it comes to the education content, it becomes much easier even to allow the operators to go through this mass awareness. So not only that, we have to put in place different tools to make sure that the online content as well as the education they are very well delivered.
Yeah.
For instance, when we are doing the control on the quality of service being delivered by the operators, basically it is also like facilitating the education. In case they don't provide a good quality of internet, this means the education as well as the delivery, the online services, trainings will not be able to achieve to its goal. So the regulatory authority makes sure that we have in place all those different KPIs or key performance indicators for each internet service provider. Then we monitor the quality of service to assure the quality of experience on the end users is really very important.
Yeah. I want to go to Faith, but before I do that, Charles, while you still have the mic, beyond just the infrastructure sharing, what form of partnerships would you love to see these big telcos playing in the line of closing this connectivity and usage gap?
Yes, apart the infrastructure sharing, basically they are having also some interconnections. When we give the license for any operator, he has the obligations for the interconnection. And for such interconnection, we are also monitoring the quality of service when it comes to interconnection. So basically, this is to make sure that, let's say, if someone is calling from MTN, calling back to Airtel, or vice versa, Airtel user is calling or is trying to reach a user which is on the other side. There is that interconnection. So we are making sure that on the regulatory perspective, such kind of services are being delivered effectively with very high quality. So on top of that, as they said, they are also, we don't want to duplicate different infrastructure. Basically, that is also in terms of effectiveness to make sure that the value of the investment, whenever one operator has invested in a certain infrastructure, then it has to be used by even other operators so that we avoid a duplication.
Interesting. Faith, as the voice of reason on the set tonight, you're not a regulator, you're not a telco yourself, you're not from government. That's why I use that word for lack of a better one. How would you envision partnerships, meaningful partnerships, from all quarters, including from government, from a policy perspective, to regulation, and then to the players within this space? If you were to give one or two of your best ideas on how that can be done, what would that be?
So now, from a collaboration standpoint, when I mentioned the manufacturing plants, for instance, if, let's say for argument's sake, MTN and Airtel actually decide to set up the plant jointly, then now they produce the phones in mass, then that would enable wider reach, obviously, depending on how the policy frameworks as well as set up. Obviously, the rural team will sit down with them and advise on what needs to be done, definitely. Then that will also open up markets for other, I'd say, telcos to also come and join the bandwagon to actually help you guys like roll that out as a platform as well. But in terms of partnerships as well, and probably strategic areas which I see the telcos and the policymakers and probably the other regulators come in as well, is when there's an opportunity somewhere that one telco cannot meet, it does not mean you block out the other telco. Like back home where I come from, if one area is not serviced by one service provider, you'd find the other service provider takes it over and they actually take some dominance over it, which is okay at the end of the day. But then what that brings is a reduction in the quality of service. So now if there's a particular region that maybe, let's say, if MTN decides to do fiber to the home and they can't actually service it, they'll gladly tell Airtel that this area I cannot cover it, kindly go and take over the business, right? So that ensures that everybody and the entire country is covered at the end of the day. Because what do we need at the end of the day? We need progress. We need women to be able to access the services online safer. That's where also policy comes in. Like, for instance, I read a report where men, yes, have by far and large the largest percentage of access to mobile phones and smartphones per se.
Yeah.
But women on the other end, they lag behind. Why? It's either they're not educated, digital skills is lacking. That's why MTN is actually partnering with the GSM to actually make that a bit faster. Then now what that results in is the moment the women are actually onboarded onto these platforms for them to be able to access the mobile phones, internet per se, then there has to be a policy behind it to make sure that this internet access is also safe, which Rwanda has done very well, quite frankly, compared to other regions. So Rwanda has done that very well. So it's in the pretext that everything is being done for the good of the nation and for the good of for the entire country. Yeah.
Interesting. Let me quickly just, before I come back for another round of questions or responses, we have viewers, like I mentioned earlier when we were starting the show, that you can definitely be part of this program. Let me just read quickly. I have Derek Etusa on our live stream on YouTube who says, Charles Gahungu, such a visionary expert, taking connectivity to the next level. Charles, that's some good feedback right there. Then says, great insights, happy to see the key players in the ICT sector. Connectivity is the bloodline for any digitization, diversity interventions. Government of Rwanda has set the underlying regulatory framework rather. I see mobile penetration to the citizens needs to be enhanced. It needs to focus on subsidizing scheme of the mobile devices, enhance coverage and establish use cases in education and the health sector. And then finally, there's another one here, quite interesting opinions from Faith Muyoyo. Partnerships play an important role in attracting more investment, faster deployments, and greater reach in the remote areas. I want to read more of your comments right here on this particular platform. And let me just come quickly back to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, if there's anything that you'd need as a player, because this is a platform where now we could be able to air out some of the needs from where you sit in your sector, what are those that you need? So that you can move beyond just, distributing these phones at the cheapest price so far, $20. After that, what next, and what would you need as a player to fast track this process?
First, you would have asked me this question 1 year earlier. 1 year ago, I would have a lot of
demands, yes.
But here I want to appreciate all the effort done by the authorities with the HBB policy, because they have answered to most of our needs. What they have done is great and very bold, actually, and maybe unique in Africa. First, there has this difficulty to broke this 4G and to bring competition. It has been a very long journey, I think, for Rwanda to bring 4G competition, and this is an absolutely game changer which was necessary and has been brought in July. This is one. Number two, they took also a very bold position on facilitating the interconnection and interoperability between the ecosystem. Because yes, we need competition, but still the ecosystem needs to be interconnected. When I am Airtel, I should call for the same price an MTN number and vice versa. This is very important. Similarly, if I have a wallet, Airtel Money wallet, I should send the money to Momo and vice versa. This will duplicate the competition, and then people can decide what they want. So the government took very bold position to the stage. Now we are even in the capability to offer unlimited pack. So now you have pack where you don't have limitation. And also there is one point which I want to mention here is we talk about the education and a little bit the complexity to use a smartphone. But at least there is one thing which should be simple, is the offer. There are too many bundles, too many offers, too many segmentation for the young, for the old, for the business. And sometimes the customer finds himself lost, if not cheated, or he finds it's not transparent. I see the transparency and the simplicity of the offer is also something we have to work on. There is not much need. We just need data and call for 1 month with a certain price. No need to put a million of offer and this is the direction we are working on our side. But as far as your demand is, what we need now is we have all the tool in hand, thanks to the government and the broadband policy. We don't have many requests to the regulators. They have now put the full environment for us to unleash the potential. And now I say the ball is in our court. We have to do the job. We decide to put 1.2 million handsets. It's not a small number. It's 40 million, so it's almost 10% of the population. We may go beyond, and we just need now maybe the collaboration to address and to give this handset to the one who needs them more. I don't want this handset to end in Kigali for VIP. VIP already have iPhone, Samsung, they have the latest. These phones are really done for the one who needs them more, and we are working with RISA, and we need RISA collaboration, like we did in Kayonza, to find out the family that really needs this phone.
Interesting. So if Gordon was taking notes on your wish list, you have no wish from Gordon?
Well, this is the wish, and this is what we are working on it with him and with RISA organization.
Right. Ken, what about you? I mean, without being diplomatic, if you have to, what would you be asking for or requesting for from regulator, from policy perspective, in order for you to actually do even more from what you've already done as MTN?
Thank you very much. There are 2 or 3 simple things. One, on the policy, we thank them for unlocking the revision of the broadband policy. It's surely giving us potential to achieve more than we could have achieved. And number 2 is on the public-private partnership. Back to the point of faith. So, and I would also like to thank RURA specifically, because they have a Universal Access Fund that we do benefit from today to extend our coverage to the rural areas, which we would like to maybe ask for more going forward to at least achieve 100% population and geographical coverage, because it's a necessity. We'll no longer look at, before we used to focus more on population coverage, but today I think we need to look at geographical coverage.
Geographical coverage.
Yes.
Okay. Gordon, I think you didn't have to come with a notebook, because they literally no wish. They're actually thanking you. They're happy with what is going on. But what do you want from them? What do you want from them? From a policy perspective, from a government perspective, what do you want from these 2 players and those who are actually watching us tonight?
Thanks, Eugene. I liked your earlier prompt to have Airtel and MTN almost sign an MOU. How I wish before we leave here there is an MOU signed, and possibly the regulator can be a witness. But I just wanted to link your question to the element around collaboration. I think it's a very strong point. And definitely with collaboration, we're able to move faster, we're able to innovate, and everyone is going to be a winner. The citizen, the government, and operators as well. I will give 2 examples in areas where we think we could collaborate more. As Charles mentioned earlier, we have a target to go digital 100% as a government, but this is not only just the government, even private sector. We've set ourselves a very ambitious goal by 2024 to achieve that. But then, and one thing that Irembo, for most people that follow Irembo, the government platform, they're doing, we've done an inventory of the remaining manual services that are supposed to be digital. Now, one of the principles is to design services to be mobile by default. So what does it mean? So there is going to be lots of applications, lots of innovations happening through APIs. So how do we see the ecosystem, specifically driven by the telcos here, coming out to work with Iriambo, work with us, and be able to create more innovations. They said earlier this can be complex, but I believe this is doable. The other piece is around cybersecurity. I think this is a package. It's a package. It's not like one thing needs to happen and then leave out something else.
Yeah.
So cybersecurity awareness, getting to have the population trust in the digital solutions is very key. There is a lot of work we are doing as a government led by the National Cybersecurity Authority. This month has been this Global Cybersecurity Month. And we're doing a lot of awareness through talk shows, radios, getting to prepare the citizens really to believe and trust in the digital solutions.
Yeah.
But that's just like a drop in the ocean. So how do we see the telecoms, entrepreneurs, tech companies come out, and every time they design a program, you're sure that at least you have three major elements embedded.
Yeah.
Could be device, but also awareness. And as all of us do that, then we're creating a much more impactful multiplier effect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting. Charles, maybe, Emmanuel and Ken were worried how you were looking at them when I asked them to say what they want from the regulator. And maybe they were not able to openly say some of those things. Here's your chance. What do you want from them? I know even if they looked at you in whichever way, you are the regulator.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Before I come back to Emmanuel and Ken, I just want to first provide my input to the person who gave his comments and inputs online. Just to assure him that one of our key areas we are focusing on is really to enhance the broadband infrastructure. So we are moving, if I can say, trying our best to really move fast to assure that we have adequate infrastructure in place. That means expanding the network coverage, building more towers, and not only towers, even on the backhauling, when it comes to the expanding the fiber across the country. That helps again to improve the quality of service when it comes to the transmission part. So coming back to the wish of our operators, I can really assure them that yes, the universal access funds are there to support and to contribute. From the last years, we had almost completed, if I can say, 3 phases. Initially, we had one project of 10 sites which we built in very, very remote areas, specifically even covering some of the part of our national parks where we have many visitors. The following years, we went with a project of 68 sites, specifically to try to cover the border areas. Some times back, we used to have so many accidental roaming across the border areas, even though we still have some of them, but we are working hard on it, which I really believe operators benefited for. On top of that, in 2021, 2022, we had another batch of 45 towers, which we sponsored. And as we speak now, we have engaged with another batch of 109 sites, which we have the budget. We are working on it. Basically, I would request operators to speed up with the 109 sites. If we can do it, my wish will be, even if we can be ready by next month, I'll be more happy. But I really need everyone to take part on this. And one of my other final wish, not final, if I can say, it is more on innovation. Operators, they are more, if I can say, well positioned to lead innovation across the country. Whatever we are doing with the broadband, it will enable even other people, high learning institutions, students. Operators should even start targeting the primary school students. You know, they are young guys who are very talented. If really they can support the private sector, work in partnership, and let me say lead in this innovation, this is something which is going to bring a lot of changes in this country,
right,
where many people, even worldwide, could come to learn and basically make a lot of study to this nation to learn how we have achieved. So innovation is very, very key.
Right.
And it should be led by, if I can say, operators.
Wonderful insights right there. I'm sure they've listened really keenly. And I'm told we are now at 53 minutes. Usually this is when we start rushing and finishing up because of time. And I want us to take the remaining minutes just to try and look forward in terms of what we see in terms of the future, how it looks like, and what's in the pipeline for all of us, just maybe to be able to share our thoughts in that particular regard. I'll quickly start with you, Faith. What do you foresee in the next 2 years to come, 3 years, 5 years? What do you see the landscape looking like in terms of connectivity and usage? Just real quick, if you may.
So for me, from where I stand from the private sector and an entrepreneur as well, so innovation, partnerships, and more participation from the private sector.
Yeah.
That is what is required to actually ensure that the telcos are a success,
yeah, and
the policies that the regulators and the ministry is actually setting up actually move forward. They have to be sustainable, obviously, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I envision a situation where there is an academy from either of the telcos,
yeah,
which they're actually sponsoring these students, like the way Charles has mentioned. They're sponsoring students to actually go through an educational curriculum. Then they're able to learn different skills at the end of the day, which prepare them for the future, for all of this technology we're trying to push out to them at the end of the day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Faith. I'll now come to this table right here and be able to hear from the telcos. Of course, also responding to some of the questions I have. Peter on YouTube says, Airtel needs also to look on Airtel mobile money perspective. We need them also everywhere. They are not yet visible in this field like Momo. I think maybe Manuel will also have time to share your thoughts on that. And so I'll start with you, Ken, in your closing remarks, just real quick.
Yes, he's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
He's right. We are a little bit behind as far as mobile money is concerned. We don't have the legacy of our competitor. We are young in the market. And however, we are building an ecosystem now. I want to tell him that, for example, it's free to transfer money from Airtel Money wallet to another Airtel Money wallet. He can use also his Airtel Money wallet to send to Momo. But last but not least, now we are working very hard to catch back on the merchant.
Yeah.
We have now more than 10,000 merchants with code, especially in Kigali. You can go in many places and use your mobile wallet. It's a matter now of communication. Our solutions are not maybe well known enough, and we are going also to communicate more on it. But there is many advantage, and since now also it's interconnect, it will be very easy for them to use Airtel Money.
Okay, thank you. In just 30 seconds.
Yeah, so in closing the connectivity and usage gap, we have a framework called CHESS that actually addresses all this. C, which stands for coverage. We are doing much investing in our infrastructure and partnering as well with the rural connectivity partners to extend our coverage. And H stands for handsets. We want also to make handsets affordable and available for our customers.
Right.
And for the A is affordability of data services. So we have a couple of service offers or bundles that we are really making exciting and easy to access.
Right.
And the S is the service offering, which goes back to the content that is relevant and in local language that will also participate in the induction of the usage. And the E is the education, which is the digital literacy that we are talking about. So in closing, that's what we are doing. And on the Momo space, we're also leading on the financial inclusion. So we want to close all the gaps.
Right, interesting. And like I say always, the conversation cannot end here in these four walls. It continues across our digital platforms. I'll squeeze it just a quick comment. In case of any natural epidemics, disasters like COVID, it would be so disastrous to find us unprepared in terms of coverage. It's quite important to have a regional balance in terms of districts that are covered. I think this is very significant coming out there. Ken Gustav says hi, and he passes regards, and he says you know him from somewhere. So I'll end it at that particular point. Thank you so much all for making time. We'll continue this conversation online. The hashtag, as always, is the Summit RW. Thank you to our panelists. We'll see you next time. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Good night and good luck. Thank you.
nagira ngo mubwire ko byose birashoboka iyo wumvise kakajwi kakubwira kati irekure halo metarine ya baba inka zarembye pedo hari abakeka ko kuba bari kure business zihagarara irahebeba urifuza kuruhuka uguwe neza hamwe n'abawe ngo bagutera isoni ahubwo gahunda zawe ufite uyu munsi ni izihe irekure na bando zose za MTN kuri 4G kanda subscribe duhurire online